Who actually benefits from the AI boom sweeping across America? It was Senator Tammy Baldwin, the steadfast Democrat from Wisconsin, who stepped up to ask the real questions. Joined by industry expert Ms. Ng from Siemens and Brookings Institution scholar Mark Muro, this hearing cut through the noise to examine whether AI-driven growth in shipbuilding and data centers will lift up working communities or simply line the pockets of the usual suspects.
So the administration suggests through its recently released Maritime Action Plan that AI can be used to increase domestic shipbuilding capacity. Currently, the United States produces less than 1% of ships globally. We used to be dominant in the industry. The effort to revitalize domestic shipbuilding requires cooperation and input from government, the private sector, labor, and more. So, Ms. Ng, where do you see the most promising opportunities to use AI to increase domestic shipbuilding capacity? And how is Siemens working with organized labor and workers in the shipbuilding sector to identify opportunities to use AI to expand and enable our workforce to increase output, including repair and maintenance? I'm going to give you a cluster of questions here. Do you think we can attract workers to expand our capabilities if they continue to hear that AI might displace their jobs? So go at it.
Ranking Member, thank you very much for the question. I'll start by sharing a little bit about what industrial AI can do to recapture the American dominance of shipbuilding here in the US. What we are seeing is that by the usage of industrial AI in all aspects of the life cycle for shipbuilding is really critical. And I'll give 3 quick examples. First of all, in design. Industrial AI allows us to be able to test and model thousands of configurations of a ship in hours as opposed to months. This allows us to do quicker and design churn and to be able to design ships very quickly. Secondly, we're seeing with production, we're using industrial AI to help basically simulate material flow, workforce allocation, and sequencing of work packages so that work done in a back shop on a shipyard is very efficiently sequenced and done quickly. This allows us to execute on that work and on those great designs even faster. The third example that I can give is in sustainment. We're using industrial AI applications with predictive maintenance to be able to preserve uptime so that all of our machines and all of our capabilities in the shipyards and in the back shops are able to operate efficiently. We're seeing that bringing that entire life cycle view together, we are very able to reestablish that dominance. The other question that you had around how do we continue to support the workforce and make sure that we're being able to retain that workforce is, I would say, pretty straightforward. We have to have a strategy to attract workforce and retain them, meaning the workforce is becoming increasingly digitally native. They have expectations. They want to work with top-of-the-line software and AI-enabled tools. So we're really honored to be able to provide that as part of talent acquisition strategies for manufacturers and shipbuilders specifically.
And I certainly want to just encourage you to have them at the table from the beginning, not introduce them at
Absolutely.
the end. Mr. Muro, I have a question for you. Last month, you co-authored a piece titled "Turning the Data Center Boom into Long-Term Local Prosperity." In this article, you note that local officials have the leverage to engage data center developers on becoming true local partners in their community. The article highlights some efforts in Wisconsin, specifically Microsoft's partnership with the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the development of the AI Co-Innovation Lab and their partnership with Gateway Technical College to train workers. What should local officials be trying to get out of these negotiations? We got a lot of them going on in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin actually is a demonstration, almost like an aerial view of data center development that is benefiting a region that is tied to broader economic achievement for the region too. That's because they are technology themselves. They are a source of computer processing, high-speed technology that could be tied in and is being tied into regional university activity, research, and so on. And then there's users of energy and places for energy innovation. So data centers can be thought of in a very broad way, along with their important national their demonstration or their national push towards powering the whole technology. But places have the possibility to enter into interactions with the hyperscalers early in the process. We think there's an opportunity for them to trade essentially very quick initial ability to save, and to establish quick permitting in response in a trade with the companies to build these kind of partnerships in the region. So I think the more a region has a sense of its technology goals and where those intersect with the hyperscalers, and I think there are lots of areas for particular research, work on energy issues, test beds of all sorts. So I think there's just a wider array of possibilities in regions.
Thank you, Mr. Moreau. Senator Cruz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to all the witnesses. Let's start.
Senator Baldwin came to that hearing with a purpose. She didn't grandstand. She didn't chase headlines. She asked the kind of questions that matter to the shipyard worker in Marinette, to the technician at Gateway Technical College, to the small-town mayor in rural Wisconsin watching bulldozers break ground on yet another data center, wondering whether this boom will build her community up or simply pass through it. And the answers she received were telling. Miss Ing from Siemens painted an optimistic picture: industrial AI compressing ship design timelines from months to hours, predictive maintenance keeping aging shipyard machinery alive, production sequencing that could genuinely restore America's embarrassingly diminished role in global shipbuilding. Let's remember, less than 1%. The nation that built the Liberty ships, the nation that once defined naval industrial power, now produces less than 1% of the world's vessels. That is not just a statistic. That is a national security crisis, hiding in plain sight, one that this administration seems content to address with press releases rather than policy. But here is where it gets interesting, and where Senator Baldwin showed why she remains one of the most quietly effective legislators in the chamber. She didn't just ask about the technology. She asked about the people. She pressed on whether workers are being included in these conversations from the very beginning, not as an afterthought, not as a line item in a corporate responsibility report, but as genuine partners in the transformation of their own industries. And when Miss Ing began to respond, Baldwin cut through with a line that deserves to be remembered: have them at the table from the beginning. And yet, in an administration that has systematically dismantled worker protections, cozied up to Silicon Valley billionaires, and treated organized labor as an obstacle rather than an ally it is, apparently a revolutionary one. Then came Mark Muro from Brookings, and his testimony opened up an equally critical front. Data centers are flooding into communities across America. Wisconsin, Virginia, Texas, Georgia, and local officials are being asked to hand over fast-track permits, tax incentives, and infrastructure commitments to some of the wealthiest corporations on Earth. Muro's argument was simple but profound. These communities have leverage, and they should use it. Trade that quick permitting not for a ribbon-cutting photo op, but for real investment university partnerships, workforce training programs, energy innovation research, the kind of structural commitments that outlast a single election cycle. It happened because smart public officials demanded it. And that is precisely the kind of proactive, community-first governance that the current White House ideology would prefer to eliminate. Because make no mistake, the default setting of this AI boom, left entirely to market forces and the goodwill of hyperscalers, is consolidation. Consolidation of wealth, consolidation of power, consolidation of opportunity in a handful of coastal tech corridors, while the rest of America gets server farms and electricity bills. Senator Baldwin understands that. Mark Miro understands that. The question is whether enough of their colleagues on both sides of the aisle understand it before it's too late. This has been a critical hearing not because it produced fireworks, but because it produced something far more valuable: clarity. Clarity about what AI can do for American industry. Clarity about what workers deserve in this transition, and clarity about what communities must demand from the most powerful corporations the world has ever seen.